there my lovelies, and welcome to my booktube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today we're going to talk about the not my kind of cup of tea, they just weren't for me books I read in 2025. I already said I would talk about the best books first and then go for the not my kind of book sort of video. So here we are. I don't want to say disappointments, as you all know, because what's one man's meat is another man's poison, or however the saying goes. And yeah, probably some people enjoyed those books and really liked them. I personally didn't find a lot of enjoyment in them for various reasons. So those are the top 5 of They Just Weren't For Me books. And yeah, before we get into this, I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee. And yeah, we will just talk about the 5 books that made it on my not for me list. So the first book that landed on there was The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. And I rated that one with 3 paws when I wrote my review. The problem I had with this book was that the first 40 to 50% were really enjoyable. This was kind of a wild card. I picked it up in my library, saw what it was about, and decided I would want to read it. Because on the blurb it said that Ivy is inheriting a big abbey, yeah, somewhere on the countryside, and from a person she never heard of, but apparently that person was family, and suddenly she became a lady. And yeah, at the beginning of the book, Ivy was she was a feminist. She lived with her bestie in a flat. I mean, that place in the, I think, 40s or 50s. So it's older times, let's say it that way. And she was very progressive and feminist for that time. But then she comes to Blackwood Manor or Blackwood Abbey, and there's a huge library, and this library contains books from centuries ago, very rare and special editions, and she decides she wants to make it available for the common people of the village. And yeah, then she finds out that there is a sinister force in the library, and that sinister force causes her to forget things, which made her a very unreliable narrator, because there are memories that are lost to her and to us as the readers. Yeah, I really like the vibe of the story with a sinister monk that died there, and yeah, I really like that ghost vibe at the beginning of the book, but later on it turned into a completely different direction. Ivy, the once headstrong girl, didn't just lose her memories, but also her sense for herself, and well, yeah, all common sense as well, because she fell in love with a guy named Arthur and immediately wanted to marry him, which was not comprehensible at all. And the more she lost her memories, the more she turned into a damsel in distress. Yeah. The book started out so promising and then slowly got worse near the ending. And the ending was all over the place and absolutely bonkers. I can't say it any differently. The ending was really quite something, yeah. So, yeah. In the end, I rated that one 3 paws because the beginning was good. It was off to a good start. It was an interesting story, but then around the halfway mark, the story declined. and the ending was so anticlimactic that I just couldn't. The ending was, yeah, not for me. The reason why it's on this list. Yeah. Okay, let's not talk about this any further. Let's talk about the second book that landed in my not my cup of tea top 5. And it was Road of No Return by K.A. Merikan. I rated that one with 2.5 paws. Caroline and I wanted to do a buddy read, and she suggested this book to me, and I was like, yeah, why not? It sounds okay and interesting. I mean, it would have been a dark romance, and I wanted to dabble a little bit in the dark romance genre. It's an MM story, so I thought, why not? Yeah, I didn't anticipate or couldn't anticipate that I would come out of this book with a huge question mark on my face and a WTF face. In the ending, in my defense, I probably should have read the blurb better, because it said that a closeted biker falls in love with a tattoo artist from the big city, and yeah, that it's going to be a hard ride. It was a really crazy ride indeed. The tattoo artist we are talking about is Zack, and Zack inherited a house and a dog named Versailles from his aunt, I think, named Virginia. She died and she left him that house in a small town named Lake Valley. And Zack thought that he needs a break from the big city and will find some quiet there. As a tattoo artist, he isn't exactly, well, he doesn't need to stay at one place. He can travel with his work equipment. So he decides to start a studio in his old aunt's house that she gave him and that he inherited. On his very first day, he goes into a bar and sees a lot of bikers there. And of course, Zack is like, ooh, potential clients. Bikers have a lot of tattoos. So, hey, I won't be out of business here. That's great. And he befriends those bikers, and one in particular named Stitch. And yeah, Stitch is the closeted biker we've been talking about on the blurb. Yeah, I was no fan of Stitch, because Stitch was really such a childish person. He was jealous AF. He didn't let Zack be the person that he was. He always undermined him. He always suppressed him. He didn't listen to him when he told him things. There were scenes I was like, I don't get it. How? I mean, we were supposed to buy into the stereotypes, like Zack, the tattoo artist from the big city, sophisticated, intelligent, whatever, and Stitch, the brute biker that, yeah, lives his life on the bike. And the author tried to get them out of those stereotypes, but the offer totally failed, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, the stereotypes were delivered completely. And yeah, it was a wild ride. Stitch being so closeted really grated on me. I will never read a book about a closeted biker again, I think, because the entire environment they are living in is totally toxic when it comes to being a part of the LGBTQIA+ community. And even his ex-wife was horrible to him. Yeah, not my cup of tea, not what I want to read about. Also, the way he treated Zack, you would have thought Zack would or was supposed to be the intelligent one in that relationship dynamic, but he was honestly so dumb going back to Stitch after everything he did. I would have never returned to him. I wouldn't even have given him a second chance if he would have done the things Stitch did. So yeah, it was like Dumb and Dumber, and not my cup of tea. Those characters did a lot of stupid things and they barely had any consequences, because in the end they just were all over each other again, and every conflict was solved that way, so not for me. And the ending went completely off the rails. I have no other expression for that. The ending was wild. Very wild. Extremely wild. In a not good way. It was like, I was left looking like WTF. Yeah, not my cup of tea. 2.5 paws. Next time I will read the blurb better. I mean, I'm pretty certain this book has its audience. If you like stories like that, of bikers in the closet and of horrible homophobia, then maybe that story is for you. I don't know. It's not for me. Definitely not for me. Okay, this said, let's take a sip and head to the third book that made it into my list. And I gotta be honest here, those last 3 books I will talk about and mention were all surprises. I didn't expect not to like them, because they are among the hyped books, but apparently I can't trust the hype anymore. If 2025 taught me anything, then it is that I can't trust in the hype anymore. Because this third book was Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, and I rated it 3 paws because it was supposed to be a Christmas novella, a nice one at that, with nice drawings, and it looked really sweet on the outside. And I thought, oh, we get a Christmas novella with Tella, and she wants to spend some nice quality time with Legend. Why not? Sounds good to me. Yeah. Turned out that this was not what I expected it to be. Yes, we got Tella's point of view. She thinks Legend doesn't love her anymore because he realized what he gave up for her. She wants to surprise him with the best Christmas gift ever. He's kind of like the Grinch when it comes to Christmas and doesn't like the festivity and all the nice holiday spirit. Yeah. Tella basically spends the entire book searching for the perfect Christmas gift for Legend, and then close to the ending, the book takes a really weird turn. Such a turn that it made me question if Tella and Legend are actually meant to be together, if you get what I mean. And I couldn't. No. This one wasn't for me. Definitely not for me. Not my thing. Not my cup of tea. No. Nope. Yeah. I was a little bit, yes, in that case, I was a little bit disappointed of the direction in which the book went. For me personally, it totally didn't deliver that nice Christmas story and novella I hoped for. I know some people might still love this book, and that's okay, that's fine for me. But for me personally, it just didn't deliver on my expectations and what I thought it would be. It made me question Legend and Tella as a couple in the end, which is kind of detrimental to their character arcs, I might say. And also, I think Tella really acted her age in that one. In all the other books, I didn't notice that this was a thing, because she seemed to be more grown up than her sister Scarlett, even though she was the younger one, and she seemed to be more cunning and clever, but I missed that in this one totally. She really acted her age, and that wasn't a good development for her. Yeah. Anyway, let's head to the fourth book that made it on not my cup of tea or coffee in that case list. It was another hyped book. It was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. And I already read Stalking Jack the Ripper, written by Kerri Maniscalco, and I really enjoyed that one. But Kingdom of the Wicked didn't do it for me, and this even though we had a really great premise. I mean, we're talking witches in Palermo here that are hiding in plain sight among the normal human population. They are Strega, and our two MCs, Victoria and Emilia, are twin sisters that have been told from their birth that they need to keep their amulets safe and shouldn't never take them off, because otherwise they would invite the 7 princes of hell. And yeah, one day as children they want to switch, but then they quickly put them on again because they start to glow and do something weird. And now that they are teens, Victoria has her romantic escapades with another boy from the village, from Palermo, and then Emilia finds her dead in a church. So she wants to find out who killed her twin sister, and her grief is causing her to search through her deceased sister's things, and she finds a book there and the summoning spell, and summons none other than Wrath, one of the princes of hell. And she kind of wants to force him to help her find the murderer. Yeah, didn't turn out the way she expected it to. This book had such a good promise. I mean, we have 7 princes of hell. We have twin sisters and one of them died. We have witches, we have magic. This sounded really promising. I mean, we have Palermo and Sicily, so what's not to love? But yeah, I personally didn't really enjoy the book. I think it lacked a lot of world building. Emilia is always kept in the dark. Her grandmother is honestly... I rarely, seldom came across a character that was like this grandmother in the book, because she was cryptic AF and never told Emilia anything, even when she asked her nicely and when her life depended on it. Nice grandma, really nice. So many things didn't make any sense, and whenever things got really interesting and intriguing and suspenseful, they ended quite anticlimactic, and I was like, okay, that's it. All the suspense built up, and then boom, okay, now it is the way it is. And this made me really frustrated with the book, with the story, and there were so many questions that were still left open in the end. And I mean, I know it's the first book in a series, but the reader really would need a little bit more info to be on board of this book. And in between, we always, I mean, I don't have anything against food descriptions, I love food, but Emilia and her family have a restaurant, and about half of the book is food descriptions and how it tastes and how you cook it, which totally took you out of the suspenseful parts. Yeah, it wasn't for me. It definitely wasn't for me. I think I rated it 3 paws, but I'm honestly thinking about not continuing with the series, because if the second and the third book are anything like this one, I better spend my time reading something else. Gotta be honest here. Okay, and now another last tip, because we are coming to the final and last book I rated very low and which made it on this list, and it was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And Powerless is actually supposed to be one of those super hyped series, one of the books everyone and their grandma read, and I decided I would pick it up in 2025 because I wanted to be in on the hype and understand why everyone raved about it. But quite honestly, it was also a disappointment for me, because I mean, they already said it in the blurb that this book is a mixture of the Hunger Games, the Selection, and Red Queen. Yeah. Turns out there were so many elements that were similar to those three series I just mentioned, and either I'm getting really good at seeing into the future and I'm turning into a psychic now, or more likely, I read it all before and just can anticipate how things will continue and end. Because there were so many parts from those other series mixed together that I really could tell you how the book would end. And just let me say this here, I wasn't wrong, I called it from the beginning. And this made reading this book so hard for me, because every time I wanted to pick it up, I knew exactly how it would continue, and it has like 500 plus pages. So every time it was hard for me to pick up the book and to continue reading, because I already knew how things would continue. I mean, if you've read one of the three series I mentioned before, just imagine, we have Payton, and Payton is a special snowflake. She is beautiful, she is badass, because she lived on the streets as an ordinary, and she lived among the people as an outsider, because in this story, ordinaries are supposed to be driven off the land. They are not supposed to live there, because apparently ordinaries cause the people that have powers to lose their abilities. Yeah, what a lie. Payton has lived among them all her life and she has no special ability whatsoever. Yeah, anyway, Payton lives on the streets, she survives a lot of things. Her father was killed by the former king because he was a part of the revolution, and Payton ever since wants to kill that king as well. Yeah, turns out she accidentally saves Kai, one of the princes, when he is in her corner. Well, you might say he is venturing into the slums and someone wants to kill him, and she saves him because she has no idea who he is. And due to that, she is invited to participate in some sort of Hunger Games. I can't say it any differently. It's another competition where you have to fight for your life, live or die. Yeah, this sort of thing, as you already know. And yeah, Kai has a brother named Kit, and both brothers have the hots for Payton. Ha ha ha. Special snowflake, as I already said. Excuse my sarcasm, but seriously, if you've read Red Queen and the Hunger Games and the Selection, you just know how everything will end. And yeah, two brothers vying for Payton's attention. We already know from the very first page which brother she is going to choose in the end. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I have a really good idea how this series is going to play out in the end. Kai reminded me a lot of Cal, and Kit reminded me a lot of Maven from the Red Queen series. There was absolutely no surprise. What I found really interesting is that Payton has a bestie that lives with her in the slums, and the moment she takes part in the competition, she forgets about her best friend's existence until about half of the book. Then her best friend makes a reappearance again, and then, yeah, the ending happens. Yeah. Give me patience, really, seriously. And yes, Payton survived because she claims that she can read minds, and apparently no one can sense if that is a lie or not as long as she delivers. So she just learned to read people pretty well and got through her life in the slums that way and survived without ever being found out as an ordinary. Yeah, I can only, not my cup of tea book. I honestly think I don't want to read book 2 or 3. I don't think the series can give me something new. I think the problem I have with all those new hyped and released books is that they are very similar to other series and choose similar tropes, and due to that you don't read anything new. Nothing that would surprise you, nothing that would get under your skin and make you excited to read the books. So, yeah, due to all the excessive use of typical tropes, the stories become similar. I personally like to read new and surprising things and not stories I get a feeling I read again and again. So maybe I need to veer off the young adult genre for a while, or at least from the super hyped books, and read more books that aren't that hyped, because I personally still like to read original tropes and original settings and world buildings that manage to surprise me. Yeah, let's put it that way. So all those 5 books here weren't my cup of tea due to all of those reasons, and I just hope that 2026 will be better in that regard. I really don't think that I will continue with Kingdom of the Wicked or with Powerless, because I'm not a person that hate reads. I know a lot of people do that. They just continue to read the story because they can hate on it and give funny remarks about it. But I'm not one of those people. If I don't enjoy a book, I don't want to read it. And quite honestly, my reading time is so limited that I don't have time for hate reading and things like that. And also it's pretty unfair to the author because they put some effort and time into it, and just because the tropes are similar doesn't mean that they didn't try to write a great story. So yeah, I think I won't continue with this too, unless one of you persuades me in the comments down below to continue with the series because it will get better or things will make sense. Yeah, let's put it that way. Okay, that's it. Those were the 5 books that made it on my not my cup of tea list. And I would really love to hear which kind of books made it on your list, which kind of books weren't for you last year and the reasons why. Do we have some in common? I would really love to hear if I'm the only one who sees it like that, or if you were or had the same opinion I did, if you've read the books. And yeah, if you have time to spare a like, a comment, or yeah, whatever, just do it. I always answer my comments. I'm always happy about likes. one like comes a long way. And yeah, I think now there's really nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!